following is a sponsored program paid for by First Alliance Credit Union. Welcome to Good Money Moves, featuring Jenna Taubel from First Alliance Credit Union and Andy Brownell. Here's Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk, 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Welcome to Good Money Moves. I'm Andy Brownell, along with Jenna Taubel, Director of Brand and Digital Member Experience with First Alliance Credit Union. Hello, Jenna.
Hey, Andy.
Last week, we talked about rewards credit cards. I wanted to switch it around for some reason. And I guess, getting the most bang for your buck, right?
Yeah.
So what's the Good Money Moves topic this week?
So today we're going to be talking about something called shrinkflation. And some people may have heard this term before. Some people are probably like, did you just make that word? And no, I promise you I did not. And so even if you've never heard of this term before, I guarantee you that you have felt its effects. It's actually one of the reasons that when you're going through your rolls of toilet paper, it just feels like, oh, you just ran out a little faster. Or maybe they're just like, you go in to reach into that Dorito bag and you're like, I swear there used to be more chips in this bag.
Well, with the small bags, it's getting to the point where they can't get them any smaller. They go like true. 5 chips in here.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But, oddly enough, though, like even with this kind of feeling where you're like, things just don't feel like they're going as far, right? You also... shrinkflation is also the reason you might not feel that you're paying significantly more than you used to either. And it's also one of the reasons why many corporations have posted record profits in the last 2 years.
A little trickery going on.
Yeah, because that doesn't quite add up when you think about it, right?
No. I guess. Well, why don't we just start with define it? What is shrinkflation?
Yeah. Well, in order to understand what shrinkflation is exactly, you have to start the conversation around what is inflation. So hopefully everybody at this point is aware that, inflation is when the prices rise over a period of time. For instance, let's say you like to bake. So you always buy a 2-pound bag of flour at the grocery store every time you go. And usually that bag's, let's say, $2. As time goes by, though, you go to buy that 2-pound bag of flour and then you realize the price is now $2.50, right? So that's inflation. And it happens consistently over time, and it's been happening now more rapidly for a long time.
Right, but it's inevitable as well.
It is, yeah. Yep, it does happen. And the overall effect of inflation is that items get more expensive and your money doesn't go as far as it used to, especially let's say if your job isn't giving you a raise that matches the cost of inflation, right? So that's especially relevant in the last couple of years where, again, inflation has spiked pretty dramatically. And most people realize items that get more expensive. And when that happens, they just kind of start to reconsider their priorities a little bit. Like, do I really need this? Like, if you're going to be paying 25% more for a 2-pound bag of flour, maybe you don't want to do as much baking. I don't know. Those are the kinds of things people start to think of. But companies do not want you to buy their product less often. They want you to keep buying as frequently as you normally would, so that they continue to make a profit, right? I mean, that's what companies do. And in the 1960s, though, companies figured out a way to essentially trick people into paying higher prices without them feeling like they're paying more. And so what they do is charge the same price for an item, but you get less of it. And that's what shrinkflation is. And I know that it sounds a little, it's tricky. It sounds tricky because it's tricky. I mean, there's no sugarcoating that. That's what it is.
It's a marketing gimmick and it works.
Yeah, it does.
But in essence, it's the exact same thing as inflation. Because if they were to increase the quantity of their product to where it had been before, your price would be just that much higher.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why they call it shrinkflation.
Sure. So maybe some other examples. I mean, you mentioned flour, of ways we can get, I guess, tricked into staying with our favorite products despite the higher prices.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's go back to kind of that 2-pound bag of flour example, right? So instead of getting charged $2.50 for a 2-pound bag of flour when you were originally only being charged $2, what ends up happening is you discover that you're paying $2 for the flour, only now the bag weighs 1 pound 0.75, right? So and again, most people aren't going to kind of notice this difference over time. And the end result is that you're now paying more for the item, but it just doesn't feel like it. So, by the time you really realize that you're probably not getting as much as you used to, you're likely kind of at this point where you're overspending and maybe are starting to notice some issues with your budgeting going on. So
I also imagine there's only so far these companies can take it too. I mean, you can, after a while, it'll get to be ridiculous. The bag of flour would be so small, nobody would buy it anyway.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, the thing is, though, it's a very common tactic. Specifically, we're talking about, food and household goods that this is the common for, so that, again, going back to the toilet paper, the bag of potato chips, paper towels, cereal, cleaning supplies, candy, all that. Those are kind of the areas you see this happening in. So instead of just reducing the size of the packaging, they sometimes will recreate the packaging altogether so it's even less notable. So things like Gatorade, for example, their new aerodynamic bottle only contains 28 ounces, but their old bottle held 32 ounces. So that's a 13% reduction in product. And Charmin toilet paper reduced its mega roll from 264 sheets to 242 sheets. That's an 8% reduction. Another, Scott's toilet paper brand, they kept their count at 1,000 sheets, but now they use 20% less paper in each sheet.
So it's thinner toilet paper.
It is. And so it's a lower quality product, essentially in toilet paper world, right? Sparkle paper towels, another one, they cut 6 sheets off of each roll while still charging the same price. So that's a 5% reduction in product that you're getting. For cereals, an example of this would be Post's Honey Bunches of Oats reduced the size of its family size box from 23 ounces to 18 ounces.
That's a big one.
21% reduction. That is a really big one. Laundry detergent, 7th generation laundry detergent reduced the size of their bottles from 100 ounces to 90 ounces, but also changed the size and shape of the container to disguise the fact that they made that cut.
Sure. And the funny thing is, not funny because it's not funny at all, but with the redesigned container, they probably got away with charging you more for the product because it looks fancier.
It looks new. It's fancier. They probably repackaged it in some way to market it a little bit differently. So, but all of these examples are, a pretty small sampling of what's going on, but you get the picture, right?
Sure.
I mean, and you can find companies that are reducing the size of their products while still charging the same price.
But what I love about this, and this is what I love about our system, is that each time one of these big corporations does this, it opens an opportunity for someone else to jump into that market and compete against them.
Potentially. Absolutely.
So you and I, the consumer, can change our behaviors and fight back against it if we choose to.
Mm-hmm.
But if if I'm such a Dorito fan that I can't have anything but Doritos, hey, live with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, take our break,
and that's
though, Jenna.
True. Oh, already. Goodness. Okay.
Jenna Taubel is here with First Alliance Credit Union, and we're talking about I'm being a little bit exaggerating a little bit, the dangers of shrinkflation. What is shrinkflation? That's our topic today on Good Money Moves. Back in a moment on News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Good Money Moves continues in moments with Andy Brownell and Jenna Taubel from First Alliance Credit Union. This is News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM. Money Moves with Andy Brownell and Jenna Taubel from First Alliance Credit Union on Rochester's News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Welcome back. More of Good Money Moves. Jenna Taubel with First Alliance Credit Union with us, and us being Andy Brownell and the rest of you. Where the topic this week is shrinkflation, which is the same as inflation, just marketed a bit differently. And it'd be interesting, Jenna, to take a survey, and I imagine these companies have done this as part of their research, that if you were to poll the average consumer, would I rather you just continue on giving me the same quantity of the product and charge me more, or play this little game that we're playing here and reducing the amount I get or the quality of what I get in order to hold the price the same?
Yeah, that's a great point, Andy. And actually, you are spot on, because that's almost exactly what they did, back in 1960s when they kind of introduced this option of shrinking the package size instead of changing the price. They did a lot of research to determine that people are so price sensitive that it is ultimately better for the company to continue to make profits if they shrink the size of the packaging and keep the price consistent, that it is less, there's less pushback from consumers.
And what does that say about us?
Well, a lot of times that we're just not paying attention,
right.
Honestly.
Look the other way.
Yeah. Yes.
But again, you're right. If I'm shopping, I'm not really looking at the fluid ounces so much, or the quantity in there. It is, to a point, the size of it. Yeah. But over time, it really does become noticeable, because it was a couple of weeks ago. Came back home with a bag of groceries. A bag.
Yeah.
$85 in a bag of groceries.
Oh, I know it. I curse every time I go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't think I spent this much last time.
And I suspect part of that was because the products we bought now fit in only one bag because of shrinkflation.
Yeah. But you know what? That very well could be, Andy. That very well could be. But, and I think it's interesting. Again, it's just, you don't notice these incremental changes as they're happening. And it isn't, again, until you start to make the same thing. If you make spaghetti every Tuesday and you're used to having leftovers, and then all of a sudden you don't have leftovers anymore.
Yeah.
That's where you start, you know what I mean? That's where you start to notice that and feel it, is when you used to be able to do so much with the product you're buying, and it just doesn't go as far. And that's when, you really start to notice that there's this difference, and that, maybe I don't have, I have 10% less spaghetti noodles in my box, or, whatever it is. And of course,
another aspect of them getting away with this is that when you are consuming the most goods as a household is when you have children and they're growing.
Absolutely.
And so as they grow, some of this comes naturally anyway, that you're using more product. That when you get the teenage boy in the house, guess what? There's never leftovers anyway.
No. Maybe leftover vegetables. That's about it.
Yeah. How can we have all this broccoli laying around? Yeah. What's the deal with that?
Yeah. I mean, it is just an unfortunate side effect of inflation, really. And I don't know. Would I rather just pay more and have the same amount, or would I rather keep the same price point and to get a little bit less. I don't think there's a win either way in that scenario. I would rather just have prices go down and I get more. That's where I'm at. I know.
And guess what? That world doesn't exist.
I know.
You can be mad at the companies, the corporations, but as you said earlier in the first segment when we were talking, the corporation is created to make profits. It's not there to make us all happy. It would hope we could be happy because we're pleased with the product, but ultimately it's the bottom line that matters.
Yeah, it is. It certainly is.
All right. So I guess when we get back from this break, we should probably talk about ways we can be aware of this and maybe help ourselves out at the same time.
Yeah.
Shrinkflation. It's Good Money Moves today with Jenna Taubel with First Alliance Credit Union. Back in a moment on News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Good Money Moves continues in moments with Andy Brownell and Jenna Taubel from First Alliance Credit Union. This is News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM. Good Money Moves with Andy Brownell and Jenna Taubel from First Alliance Credit Union on Rochester's News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
It's Good Money Moves. Topic today, shrinkflation with Jenna Taubel with First Alliance Credit Union. Jenna, I guess I'm looking at you to provide us some information on how we can combat shrinkflation.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, shrinkflation, like inflation, is definitely here to stay. The good news is that you can kind of avoid the worst of its effects on your budget, your household budget. There are a couple of things you can do. Just first and foremost, I mean, we kind of alluded to this earlier in the conversation, Andy, but don't buy based on the package, right? Buy by the weight. So figure out how much you're really paying for something by dividing the price of the item by the amount that you're getting, whether it's the weight or the quantity. That information is always listed on the packaging, right? So if you, again, going back to that flour example I've been using, if you're paying $2 for a 2-pound bag, what is that per pound or per ounce, and compare that to the other options available to you versus just going off of what you would normally grab off the shelf. So, and this actually used to be harder, but these days pretty much everybody's got a smartphone when they go shopping, right? So use the calculator on there. So once you know how much you're paying by weight, you'll have a better idea of whether you're really getting the best value for your money or not. So it's a quick calculation, a quick division calculation, and it'll give you a good feel for, am I paying too much for this? Is there another brand where I can eke out a little bit more with my money? Those types of things.
And you can even simplify it even more. You can, what's the one for Apple, Siri? And I can ask Google.
Oh, yeah.
You just talk into your phone. Hey, Google.
Exactly.
What's 1 pound divided by whatever the dollar amount is?
Exactly.
Per ounce.
Yeah, and I think, that kind of leads me into the other tip that is really important here, and that is to kind of abandon brand loyalty. Don't, again, there are certain things that are just not as good in a generic brand as they are in the more big box brand, right? I mean, Doritos from Doritos does not taste the same as salted corn chip with spice from the store brand. So,
come on, you can get used to it.
They are different flavors, but if you're willing, if that doesn't bother you, then go for it. But if you want to really take this kind of to the next level, you can really start to compare different in-store brands versus the big box brands, and buy from the store that gives you the best value, right? So you think about how you can online shop for your groceries now. I do it all the time, and you can do it from basically any grocery store has some kind of offering for curbside pickup or delivery these days. So you can very easily do some price comparisons from your couch. Okay, so let's say Walmart has flour for $2.50 and this week Target has it for $2. Those are the kinds of things you can start to do and start to figure out, okay, which stores are going to give me the best value, and start really doing a lot more price comparison. And you kind of have to break out of your regular everyday habit when it comes to buying. Cause I'm guilty of it. I just order the same things from Walmart every week. I know I need milk, eggs, bread, all the other things to make the things that we like to make, but really it's possible that there's better deals at other stores. We have a lot of grocery stores in town. And so you can definitely find something that's a little bit better fit for your budget and makes your money go a little bit farther. So, and, just start to make notes of, well, I know consistently this store offers this product that I need on a regular basis at a much better price or a much better weight count or whatever, or what I need. So you can kind of start to plan your shopping around that instead of just product. You can kind of start to look at stores too.
So be more purposeful when you're shopping.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then of course, this is good no matter what, but really take some time to find those coupons and discounts, right? So most stores have some kind of sale going on every week or specials every month or whatever. And they advertise the prices in the store, in their apps, like you can't miss it. So just take some time to look through that stuff and really determine, okay, well, they've got to buy one, get one free on these ice cream bars that I eat all the time. Get the free box of ice cream bars, right? Those are the kinds of things that you want to be really taking time to pay attention to. And you can even find apps that offer coupons, like that is their only purpose, to offer coupons or even give you a little bit of cash back when you make a purchase, right? So there are a lot of options out there if you want to just kind of dig into some discounts.
If I'm shopping online, like you were saying you do often, how does the coupon thing work there? Does it pop up automatically? Do you have to go hunt for the coupon?
It depends. I think it's definitely different for every app, every store. They all structure those things a little bit differently. So it's, but typically I do believe if you have a specific coupon code or something like that, there's usually a space at some point in the checkout process to enter those in.
Okay.
Yeah. The other thing to keep in mind too is buying in bulk is definitely another way to kind of save yourself some money in the long run, right? Usually the more you buy at once, you're going to save over time. And as a added bonus, you won't have to restock that item so much. So you'll also save some time just in the regular shopping activity itself. And I think that a lot of people get a little bit turned off from buying in bulk just because you do have to put in a little bit more money up front. But again, it does end up working out to save you money over time, but not everything. You still have to do the math and do some comparison shopping there. Don't just assume that because you're buying it in bulk, you're getting a deal, because that's not always true. But you can get a lot of good deals when buying in bulk. So like think about stores like Costco and Sam's Club that have those bulk warehouses.
So this is where you take out your calculator again and figure out per serving or per ounce or per pound or whatever it is, your cost.
Exactly.
Ironically, with eating out, it doesn't seem that this shrinkflation has occurred. We're just seeing inflation.
Yes.
And I would actually, when I go out to eat, I would prefer the shrinkflation. Because I think they give you too much food already.
Oh, that's a good point. I would agree with you on that, Andy. I would. I can never finish all of that food that they give you. Yeah. No, and then it is interesting just, how different industries are having to deal with inflation, and obviously kind of the consumer goods industry shrinkflation is tends to be the way to go, along with increasing prices sometimes, to add insult to injury. They will shrink it and still raise the price at the same time. And sometimes you just have to deal with it. There's no other option but that particular product. But again, it's all about paying attention, being mindful, taking time to do some comparison shopping. Obviously, you're not going to be able to avoid it, but if you are at least aware of it, it helps you to make a little bit better and different decisions than you would if you were not aware of it. You didn't know how to address it or, manage your budget around it.
Right. Empower yourself.
Yes.
And as always, great information, Jenna.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you can point me in the direction of some resources where I can learn more about ways I can deal with shrinkflation and inflation.
Yeah, absolutely. I always encourage our listeners to visit our website, firstalliancecu.com. Subscribe to our blog. We release new financial tips and advice every week. You can go back and listen to past episodes of this show at firstalliancecu.com/podcast or on KROCnews.com. You can also subscribe to Good Money Moves on Apple, Google, and Spotify podcasts so you never miss an episode. And if you love our show, please leave us a review on your favorite podcasting platform. We would love to know what you think. And if you have a financial topic or a question that you would like covered on Good Money Moves, please send me an email at marketing@firstalliancecu.com. I'd love to hear your questions. And of course, I strongly encourage you to reach out to our team here at First Alliance Credit Union so they can help you start making good money moves today.
That's First Alliance Credit Union, federally insured by NCUA and an equal housing lender. Jenna Taubel, thank you so much again.
You bet, Andy.
And we'll chat again next week with another episode of Good Money Moves on News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9